What you are about to hear is the story of Eirik and Freya, a love forged in the harsh world of Viking duty, sacrifice, and war. Amidst the flames of a funeral pyre and the threat of separation, their hearts defy the battles that seek to tear them apart. The Viking village lay quiet under a gray sky, the air thick with the scent of smoke and sorrow. A pyre had been erected at the edge of the fjord, a solemn tribute to honor Sigurd, the brother of Eirik, one of the clan's bravest warriors. Eirik stood tall and silent before the flames, his face hardened by years of battle, yet his heart felt a pain sharper than any wound he'd ever sustained. By his side was Freya, the woman who had captured his heart in the midst of blood and fire, her presence the one thing that softened the edges of his world. Freya, a healer and daughter of the clan's elder, had known Eirik since they were children, but it wasn't until recent years that their friendship had transformed into something fierce and unbreakable. She had watched him charge into battle, returning each time bearing fresh scars and greater burdens. Yet now, standing beside him as he mourned his brother, she saw a different side of him, a vulnerability he rarely revealed. As the flames climbed higher, Eirik's expression tightened, and Freya felt his pain radiating from him in waves. She longed to reach for his hand, to offer him comfort, but such displays were forbidden at ceremonies. Instead, her gaze conveyed what words could not, that she was with him, bound to him in a way that no ritual could sever. Their connection ran deeper than any vow or bond. With his brother gone, Eirik now held greater responsibility than ever. Soon, he would lead their clan into the northern lands, where new battles awaited. The village had already begun whispering of his prowess, that he would carry Sigurd's strength with him into the fight. But in that moment, Eirik was not the fierce warrior they knew. He was a man confronting the fragile balance between life and love, knowing that each battle he faced was a risk he might never return from. After the ceremony ended, the village began to disperse. Yet Eirik and Freya remained, standing together in the flickering light. He turned to her, his face drawn with exhaustion, his voice low. "Freya, this life, it demands everything of us. But I fear leaving you, not knowing if I'll see you again." Freya's heart twisted, for she too understood the risk. "Eirik," she whispered, "your duty may take you from me, but know that my heart goes with you. If I must wait a lifetime for your return, then so be it." Her words, though quiet, carried the weight of an oath when they both knew might be impossible to keep. The days after the ceremony passed in a blur of preparations. Eirik was constantly surrounded by warriors, each one eager to prove himself in battle under his command. Freya watched from the edge of the training grounds, her heart heavy with a mix of pride and fear, as she saw Eirik assume his role as leader. His every command was swift, his every movement precise, a man devoted to his clan and his duty. Yet, when his gaze found hers across the grounds, she could see the vulnerability beneath his hardened exterior. She knew he feared not only for his life but for the love they might never see fulfilled. Their secret meetings became fleeting, stolen moments under the cover of night, their love hidden from the eyes of the clan. Each time they parted, Freya's heart ached a little more, knowing that soon he would leave for the battlefield, a place that had already taken so many from her. She couldn't shake the fear that the pyre she had watched burn just days before would soon be for him. But to voice such fears felt like a betrayal of the strength Eirik embodied, so she kept them buried, allowing herself only brief tears when he could not see. One evening, as they met near the darkened fjord, Eirik wrapped her in his arms, his embrace fierce and filled with unspoken emotion. "I don't want to leave you, Freya," he said, his voice raw. "But our people, they need this fight, and they need me to lead them." Freya placed her hand against his cheek, her own heart breaking at the thought of letting him go. "I know, Eirik. Your duty is to them, as mine is to you. But promise me this return to me. No matter what war may come, no matter the battle fight for us." Her voice was a soft plea, a request that they both knew was fraught with uncertainty. Eirik's grip tightened, his eyes dark with determination. "I swear it, Freya. As long as I have breath, I will fight to come back to you." His words hung between them, a vow as binding as any oath, yet one forged in a world where promises were often broken by the sword. Their love was fierce, but so were the dangers that awaited him, and they both knew that no amount of determination could ensure his safe return. Before they parted that night, Freya handed him a small pendant she had worn since childhood, a token of protection she had cherished. "Take this with you," she whispered. "Let it be a reminder of our love, a strength to carry you through every battle." Eirik accepted it, placing the pendant around his neck and pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. As he walked back to the village, leaving her by the edge of the water, Freya clutched her empty hand to her chest, a silent prayer escaping her lips. She knew she would have to wait, bound to the uncertainty of a war that threatened to steal the man she loved, even as he fought with every ounce of his strength to return to her. The day of departure arrived with the first light of dawn. Eirik, clad in armor and bearing his brother's shield, stood at the head of his warriors. Freya joined the rest of the villagers, watching in silence, her heart a storm of fear and hope. She longed to run to him, to embrace him one last time, but she knew that their love had to remain hidden even in these final moments. As the warriors mounted their horses, Eirik's gaze searched through the crowd until it found her. Their eyes locked, and in that silent exchange, they shared 1,000 unsaid words of love, of hope, of fear. She managed a small nod, as if to tell him she would be waiting, no matter how long it took. The sound of hooves thundered as the warriors rode off, leaving a cloud of dust in their wake. Freya watched until they vanished over the horizon, her heart aching with every step that took him further from her. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. News of the battle filtered back to the village in fragment stories of skirmishes, of victories and losses. But no word of Eirik. Freya spent each day tending to the sick and injured in the village, holding onto the hope that he would return. She clung to the memory of his promise, the warmth of his embrace, and the pendant she had given him. She dreamed of his return, of seeing his face light up with that familiar strength, of their future beyond the battles and bloodshed. Then, one evening, word arrived that Eirik's regiment had been ambushed. The survivors spoke of a fierce battle, of men lost to the chaos of war. Freya's world shattered as she realized that Eirik might be among those lost. The days that followed were a blur of grief, of sleepless nights spent by the fjord, clutching the earth as if it could bring him back to her. But fate was not finished with them yet. On a mist-covered morning, as Freya wandered near the shore, she saw a figure in the distance. Weak, limping, yet unmistakably Eirik. His armor was battered, his face scarred, but he was alive. She ran to him, her heart pounding, tears streaming down her face as she threw herself into his arms. Eirik's embrace was strong despite his wounds, his voice a soft whisper in her ear. "I promised you, Freya. No battle could keep me from you." They held each other, the weight of their separation, of every fear and every hope they had clung to, dissolving in that moment. In the quiet of the fjord, with the world around them silent and still, Eirik and Freya finally found peace in each other's arms. Their love had survived the fires of war and the tests of duty, and now, with the dawn breaking over the fjord, they knew that nothing would ever tear them apart again.